everyone, and a very good morning to you. This is Rachel live from 𝐊𝐴𝐴 Studios, and you're watching the Early Trades, a show where we bring you how the Australian share market opens during the trading session and the associated market drivers. The Australian share market struggled for direction this morning and later picked up during the early trades following a flat Wall Street closing overnight. While the local miners are supporting the market on the back of high iron ore prices, the looming outlook of a COVID-19-led lockdown extension in Sydney is denting the market sentiments. US stocks traded flat on Tuesday after the latest government data showed that inflation surged at an annual rate of 5.4% in June, the highest in 13 years. That's amid a strong economic rebound. The Nasdaq Composite and the S&P 500 ended lower after touching record highs earlier in the session, with investors trying to digest an uptick in consumer prices in June. Meanwhile, robust earnings from Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan kicked off the quarterly earnings season. JP Morgan's second quarter profit more than doubled to $11.95 billion while Goldman Sachs income swelled to $5.49 billion from $373 million the same period a year ago. The Dow Jones fell 0.31% and the S&P 500 lost 0.35%. The Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.38%. While looking at the Australian market opening trades, the top performing stocks in this index were natural health company Blackmores and real estate investment trust Growthpoint Australia. Industrial explosives maker Incitec Pivot and energy player Amcor, their shares inched up. Mineral players Orocobre and Mineral Resources also advanced on the board. On the other hand, buy now, pay later player Afterpay and Zip Co saw their shares slip. That was on rising competition from Apple's new proposed BNPL offering. Technology is the worst performing sector so far today, while materials, energy, healthcare and real estate are pulling the strings of the ASX 200. Moving on, let us look at prominent ASX stocks under the spotlight during the early trades. To begin with, Downer EDI shares soared after being awarded 2 new contracts worth $280 million by the NBN. The leading provider of integrated services in Australia and New Zealand stated that the N2P Evolution contract starts in July this year, with the initial term through to December 2023 and an extension option of 2 years. It's valued at $160 million over the initial 2.5-year term. Under the contract, Downer will provide design and construction services across New South Wales and Western Australia to support NBN's plans to extend fibre deeper into communities. Meanwhile, the fixed wireless services contract also begins in July this year with an initial term of 2 years and 2 extension options of 2 years. The estimated value of the initial term is $60 million and the total estimated value, including both extension options, is up to $120 million. Under the contract, Downer will deliver end-to-end design and construction services across NBN's national fixed wireless network. The next stop that deserves closer attention is fund platform Praemium. Their shares skyrocketed during early trades on posting record quarter and a flagging asset sale. The group has posted quarterly adjusted inflows of $1.2 billion to take their total funds under administration to $41.7 billion as of the 30th of June. It also announced plans to put its international business up for sale and flagged prior interest from buyers. As of June the 30th, the international business had $5 billion in funds under administration. Next, personal lender Harmoney shares jumped on a growing loan book by 144%. The group listed in November 2020 and reported that receivables finished the year at $501 million New Zealand dollars. That was on a net interest margin of 11%. Moving on to the next stock making headlines now, gold miner AngloGold Ashanti shares rose on acquisition plans. The company has tabled a $4 Canadian per share bid for Toronto Stock Exchange listed gold miner Corvus Gold. It currently holds a 19.5% indirect interest in Corvus. According to the company, the combination of Corvus's and AngloGold Ashanti's Nevada assets further consolidates one of the largest new gold districts in Nevada and provides the opportunity for AngloGold Ashanti to establish in the medium and longer term a meaningful low-cost, long-life production base in a premier mining jurisdiction. Now it's time for a very short break, but stay tuned. I'll be back with the sectoral updates for the Australian share market.
Crypto talk by 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞. The crypto market has been red hot given the Bitcoin rally since the past year. And now the most famous cryptocurrency has got competitors, Dogecoin and Ethereum. If the crypto market excites you, tune in with me, Sage, to know the latest developments about the existing digital currencies and the new ones that are joining the race. I'll help you understand the opportunities and the risks the crypto market has in store for you. For all the digital currency related developments, continue watching Crypto Talk by 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞.
A very warm welcome back to you. This is Rachel, your host, live from 𝐊𝐴 Studios, and you're watching The Opening Bell. Moving on, let us glance through the ASX sectoral chart. Australian technology shares traded lower during the early trades, taking cues from the weaker action of the Nasdaq 100 overnight. Shares in Nuix and Nearmap slipped, while BNPL players Afterpay and 𝐧𝐞 witnessed pressure amid reports that Apple Pay is set to launch a buy now pay later product. In the US, fintech firm Affirm Holdings and PayPal Holdings, their shares fell on the report of Apple Goldman plans for a buy now pay later service that will allow users to repay Apple Pay purchases in installments over time. Reportedly, Goldman Sachs will serve as the lender for the loans necessary for the installment offerings. The BNPL space is definitely heated today. Westpac NZ is to offer BNPL products to consumers on MasterCard's network via Humm's Bundle Pay in Full product. The deal is the first under Humm's global partnership with MasterCard to enable banks to enter the BNPL sector. The product will be available from August. Meanwhile, Australian energy majors Beach Energy, Santos, Origin Energy and Oil Search, their shares are all trading in the green. That's amid an oil price uptick. On Tuesday, crude oil prices surged almost 2% amid the International Energy Agency's statement that the oil market should expect tighter supply for now due to disagreements among APEC Plus member countries over oil supply for the next few months. On that note, Brent crude rose 1.8%, while the US West Texas Intermediate crude was up 1.6%. Now let us move on to the miners space. Heavyweight miners BHP, Rio Tinto and the Fortescue Metals Group, their shares traded higher, while the iron ore futures in Asia ticked up on Tuesday. The benchmark Dalian contract rose over 3% as concerns around the restricted supply of the steelmaking raw material overshadowed expectations of slowing demand for steel in China. Most actively traded September futures contract for iron ore on China's Dalian Commodity Exchange closed daytime trading 3.3% up. Meanwhile, copper almost traded flat on Tuesday but came under pressure from climbing inventories and falling imports by China. A stronger US dollar also put pressure on the industrial metal. On that note, let us look at the ASX-listed copper players, Oz Minerals and Samphire Resources. Their shares are trading in the green territory during early trading hours today. Samphire Resources has exceeded annual copper production guidance for the 12 months to 30th of June, reporting total sales of $813 million in financial year 2021. The company posted increased sales on the back of 70,845 tonnes of contained copper and 39,459 ounces of contained gold, with the unit operating cost of 81 US cents per pound of payable copper. These production metrics reflect another strong and consistent performance by the DeGrussa operations in WA. The copper production is above the upper end of previously announced production guidance for financial year 2021. Now into the yellow metal space, Newcrest Mining and Evolution Mining, Ramelius Resources and Gold Road Resources, their shares all edged up amid growing US inflation concerns. Meanwhile, gold traded in a range on Tuesday that was almost unchanged at closing. A firmer US dollar offset support from bets that the Fed was less likely to respond with immediate monetary tightening after US CPI surged by the most in 13 years in June 2021. Well, that's all from me for now. I'm Rachel signing off. We'll be back with more stock updates in our upcoming shows. Stay tuned to 𝐊𝐴 TV for more live updates across the economy, markets and sectors.